What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Nick Moseder here, your favorite red-bearded 9-foot MAGA ginger, and yes, I know I need a haircut. We'll probably take care of that later today, but for now, we're making a video looking like a frickin' werewolf, but that's okay because we got important things to cover, and you guys don't care what I look like, you care what I say, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, while we were all celebrating Christmas yesterday, watching our children open the gifts from Santa Claus, who's very real, by the way, Jimmy Kimmel was lecturing British people about the United States government and calling Trump a fascist, saying that it's been a great year for tyranny, and styling himself as a sort of free speech martyr, saying that he was persecuted by the Trump administration. And I've got to make a video about this because it really rubs me the wrong way. You have to be a special kind of scumbag partisan hack to run to another country and bash our country to their people. What Jimmy Kimmel did yesterday has to be one of the most disrespectful, egregious, offensive, and anti-American things that a late-night partisan hack has ever done. This is worse than Rosie O'Donnell. This is worse than Ellen DeGeneres. And what he did, if you missed it, was he went to the UK and went on their Channel 4 alternative Christmas address, which is like a tradition they've had since 1993. I had to do a little bit of research here. He gave their alternative Christmas message, a long-running Channel 4 tradition, which is meant to counter Britain's royal address, where they bring voices from outside the establishment, so they say. And it's basically a tradition where someone that's not part of the royal family gives a Christmas speech that's meant to be anti-establishment and more relatable. Now, the best part about this is he's already receiving a lot of backlash, both from people here in the United States and over in the UK. It appears that neither side is very happy with what he had to say. So we're going to play a 1-minute clip of his address, and then I'll show you the response.
I honestly have no idea what's going on over there. I do know what's going on over here, though. And I can tell you that from a fascism perspective, this has been a really great year. Tyranny is booming over here. You may have read in your colorful newspapers, my country's president would like to shut me up because I don't adore him in the way he likes to be adored. The American government made a threat against me and the company I work for, and all of a sudden we're off the air. And because so many people spoke out, we came back. Our show came back stronger than ever. We won, the president lost, and now I'm back on the air every night. We are not bright. We're Americans. No one knows better than you. We're always just a little bit late to the game. But do we come through in the end? Maybe. Give us about 3 years, please. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for Spider-Man. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Now, the only funny thing about this is the irony of it, that he doesn't seem to grasp whatsoever, and he even says so in his opening statement, that he doesn't know anything about the UK government. He doesn't know anything about what's going on there. Because if he did, he would know he's literally speaking to a group of people who have zero legal right to speak out against their own government. Over 12,000 British citizens have been arrested just this year alone for speaking out on social media against the Islamic invasion which has been allowed in the UK, and the Pakistani grape gangs and the grooming gangs which are wreaking havoc across the UK. If you speak out against it, you get arrested, you get charged, and you get prosecuted. Now let's compare that to the level of fascism that poor Jimmy Kimmel has experienced, where his late-night talk show host was taken down very temporarily for saying the MAGA gang was responsible for Charlie Kirk's death. It was taken down for like a week and then put back up, and he continues to go on every night bashing, criticizing, whining, and complaining about the president like a little sissy boy. Now, if Trump was a fascist dictator, would you be able to do that? Absolutely not. And would you be sitting in a cozy little set in front of a Christmas tree with your little tea and crumpets, bashing the president in another country? Absolutely not. And here you are speaking freely in your cozy little set with your nice little cup of tea in a suit with your little crumpets, talking about how you've been persecuted to a bunch of people that get arrested for thought crimes. Now, the good news is Jimmy Kimmel's taken a lot of flack, not just here in the United States, but also from people in the UK who thought it was just a completely tone-deaf message. Like, what does it have to do with the people of UK? Why would they want their Christmas address to come from some tabloid journalist talking about the spat between himself and the president? It's completely irrelevant to them, and this guy lays it out pretty clearly.
This is basically a left-wing, woke Christmas speech by an American that has got nothing to do with this country. Fascism gets bandied about, you know, and even I get labelled a fascist. What, because I'm protesting against illegal immigrants raping, murdering and preying on our local women and children. I get labelled a fascist because I don't want men in women's spaces and I want women's rights to be protected. Let's remember Channel 4 is the channel that allowed a trans woman, a man, swing his penis and play the piano on a live TV program. They're a joke.
So he's not just bashing Kimmel, he's bashing Channel 4 as a whole. And by the way, Channel 4 is owned by the BBC, so it's all state-sanctioned. This entire Christmas address, which is supposed to be anti-establishment, it is sanctioned by the UK government. And the BBC, which owns Channel 4, by the way, is about to get sued by Donald Trump for putting out that spliced audio of his January 6th speech to make it sound like he incited an insurrection when in fact he did not. They literally took 2 clips of his voice and spliced them together to make it sound like it was one coherent sentence when in fact it wasn't, and they doctored his speech to make it sound like he incited an insurrection. Now, this guy, Charles Brooks, that was bashing Kimmel over his left-wing woke Christmas address, he's not the only one. The Gateway Pundit here has a bunch of tweets of people making their voices heard about this Christmas address, and there is a pretty big outcry over this situation. C3 says Jimmy Kimmel is on UK television calling America a fascist country as the UK is putting people in prison for social media posts and working to do away with jury trials. Trader, Stacking Cheddar says, complaining to people that get arrested for memes about the last remaining beacon of hope for a truly free world is peak tone-deaf celebrity behavior. Geeky Holiday Sparkles says, I find it ironic that Jimmy Kimmel gave a speech about tyranny in the UK where people are forced to pay for the shitty BBC and reportedly get arrested for saying, posting or even joking about stuff that is wrong-think. But sure, you tell him, Jimmy. The Mule Abides says, yeah, because tyranny is all about using public airways to claim the current president is tyrannical, especially when the last one put a guy in prison for a effing meme. And finally, Mr. Oren Nairo the Wolf says that's rich, that he's in a country that is basically taking away people's freedom of speech if you said something that is inappropriate. And that does seem to be the main sentiment here, the irony of doing this and trying to portray yourself as a victim to people that are actual victims of tyranny and fascism. And so here's my message to Jimmy Kimmel to wrap this up. I challenge you to go on UK television and say the things you said about Donald Trump about Keir Starmer. I dare you to call the UK government fascist and tyrannical and do your little late night talk show in their country. I will personally help you pack your bags to go live in the UK and do the same thing there. And if you dislike America so much, and if you dislike the president so much, and if you're such a victim, then get out. Get the hell out. Nobody wants you here. Nobody watches your show. And maybe you'd have better luck being a state-sanctioned propagandist over in their country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is not exactly the video I wanted to make, coming back after a little break during the holidays and spending time with family, but this really grinded my gears and really rubbed me the wrong way. I think it's so un-American and so offensive that I couldn't help but open my mouth and talk trash on Jimmy Kimmel for this offensive address. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments section. As always, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.